This is CBC Here and Now.
It's a $1.5 million deal for 10 years. It's good for Mile 1 and it's good for the city.
Probably could have been a little bit more creative, but it's not bad. I like it.
I didn't believe it at first, honestly. It seems pretty fantastical.
I thought it was like the most Newfoundland story I heard in a while.
Mary Brown's has the best arena in town.
A name change for Mile 1. It'll be the Mary Brown's Center.
Well, this is the part of the week where I start to sound like a broken record. Unfortunately, we've got more gray skies and drizzle on the way.
Well, the Fisheries Union wants DFO to scrap any plans they have for the emerging redfish fishery and reconsider those harvesters, plant workers in the smaller communities in this province. I'll fill you in. That's tonight on Here and Now.
Good evening, I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. Contract talks between the province and its doctors have moved from the bargaining table to the microphone. The Newfoundland and Labrador Medical Association held a news conference today to talk about difficult working conditions for physicians and to try to put public pressure on the province. Jeremy Eaton has been following this late-breaking story and joins us live from the newsroom. So, Jeremy, there's a lot to unpack here.
There certainly is, Carolyn. So this afternoon, the NLMA didn't hold back when talking about the last 10 months that it's spent trying to negotiate a new contract with the province. So it's been 4 years since the contract with doctors and the province expired. So earlier this month, the NLMA pulled the plug on talks, and now they say government has no desire to get back to the table. Many issues were raised today, but one of the biggest comes down to money to try and keep doctors from fleeing the province.
Health Minister John Haggie and Finance Minister Siobhan Cody have told the Medical Association unequivocally that the provincial budget will make zero new investment in the physician services budget to improve the province's recruitment and retention process.
And we have had a number of stories about that very problem. People have no access to a family doctor. So according to numbers from the NLMA, more than 99,000 people are without a doctor here in Newfoundland and Labrador. That's a staggering number, and that McDonald is hearing from other doctors that staying isn't an option either. So a few hours after the NLMA spoke, politicians came out to swing at the province as well, the opposition and third party having their say. And we'll hear some of that in a bit. But it was Finance Minister, as you see here, Siobhan Cody, speaking late this afternoon to ease the worries of the people of the province.
I think it's very important that negotiations are between us in talking to the Newfoundland and Labrador Medical Association. We are talking about all these issues and things that occur under their agreement and things to improve our health care. So we do spend $500 million on 1,332 doctors. There's lots of money to be discussed in these negotiations.
So while Cody did speak for more than 10 minutes, she, unlike the NMLA, did not call the current doctor shortage a crisis. That's another big issue from the NLMA. And another one that they're looking at is the fact that the province recently told them it wants to make changes so that the doctors hired by the healthcare corporations in this province don't have to be NLMA members.
Last month, the Department of Health advised the NLMA that it intends to change the Medical Act legislation to remove the requirement that physicians have to be members of the NLMA. This type of divide and conquer tactic in the middle of negotiations is unethical and cannot be tolerated.
So that was some of the tough talk that we were just talking about that you heard today. But when asked about that aspect of the story, Minister Cody told the press that those were separate talks outside of the contract negotiations. Now, as for the Newfoundland and Labrador Medical Association, it will now consult with its members across the province, the 1,332, I think Ms. Cody said, about what they should do next. So this story is far from over. Reporting live from the newsroom, I'm Jeremy Eaton for Here and Now.
Now, as Jeremy mentioned, political reaction to this tonight, and it came quickly in response to what the Medical Association had to say. And it started at the legislature with PC leader David Brazel, who calls this a dark day for health care in the province.
What we saw today by the government is that they don't want to negotiate in good faith. They don't want to find ways to improve our healthcare. They don't want to find ways to give Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, particularly those 100,000 who don't have access to a doctor, the opportunity to be able to get back to access to healthcare and address their health concerns. So, this is alarming. It's baffling, I have to say that, because I would have thought in good faith we would look at how we collectively find ways to improve healthcare.
So here we have a very clear message today to every doctor who's studying, or every person who's studying to be a doctor at the medical school, every doctor practicing here or thinking about practicing here, that you're not really welcome. We have a doctor shortage. We have some of the lowest paid doctors across the country, and we wonder why we have a recruitment and retention problem.
Taking a look at temperatures today, they're pretty much a carbon copy of what we saw yesterday. 8 degrees topped out in St. John's, 12 in Marystown, #1 spot again today down across Port aux Basques, 17 degrees today, and still looking at those double digits up across Labrador as well. Lab City about 12 degrees this afternoon. Now it's pretty breezy out there as well. Winds about 61 kilometers per hour in Bonavista. Same thing, pretty close to that, 56 for St. John's, and that will generally be the story as we head through the evening hours today. You can see those winds still gusting fairly high, 56 kilometers per hour in St. John's. And as we head through the night tonight, those winds are going to increase, still out of the northwest, but then we're going to start seeing those gusts around 70 or even 80 kilometers per hour. I'll get into those details when I come back.
Parents in Botwood have been hauling their children out of school and keeping them home since the latest COVID-19 cluster hit the area. There have been positive cases in 2 schools in the community. Now the school district is struggling to convince parents to send their kids back to class. Here Now's Garrett Berry is live with us tonight. So Garrett, how big is the drop in attendance?
Carolyn, it's pretty remarkable. Yesterday at Botwood's Memorial Academy, just 5 students were in class. That's out of an enrollment of 240, and yes, I did the math. You're looking at about a 98% absentee rate yesterday. Attendance has been low all week, even at the high school where it's closer to half in, half out. And the attendance issues throughout the community have prompted the school district to send letters home to parents. Yesterday, it wrote that while they understand and appreciate there's COVID-19 concerns in the community, public health has deemed it safe to have schools open. So as a result, students are expected to be in class.
We really try to maintain a sense of normalcy for children through any event that happens within a school community. Like, we try to keep our schools open through any number of tragedies, and this is no different. We really believe that having school open, having kids in school, giving them the normal day-to-day activity that they would ordinarily be used to is as important for them from an educational perspective as it is from a health and wellness perspective.
That letter was sent to parents yesterday. There has been a small improvement. Today at the elementary school, there were 15 students in class out of the 240 enrolled. While some parents are returning their kids to class, others are organizing letter writing campaigns online, trying to pressure the school district to go to an online learning classroom setup. But the district says it's not considering that. Meanwhile, the province's Teachers Association says the low attendance rate is proof that families are not confident in how everything is going down. They wrote a statement yesterday that while we feel what is needed is an approach from public health that strikes a better balance between protecting student, staff, and family confidentiality and personal information, and providing enough information to give parents and the entire school community confidence that such situations are being appropriately dealt with. The school district.
I think the initial way we dealt with it was to, from a public health perspective, way back. And
Carolyn, while it's important to remember in all this that students under the age of 12 and children under the age of 12 cannot be vaccinated. And so that means if they do have an exposure, they have to stay home for the entirety of the 2 weeks. You know, there have been, as you said, 2 exposure notifications in each of the schools. So parents tell us that there are a sizable amount of students in both schools that are in self-isolation right now. Others are simply scared. Reporting live for Here and Now, I'm Garrett Berry in Gander.
Now, staying with COVID, there are 4 new cases of COVID-19 today, but there are also 6 new recoveries. That brings the active case count down. We do the COVID math down to 60. Now, the 4 new cases are all in the central region, 2 people in their 50s and 2 in their 60s. There are 11 people in hospital because of COVID-19, and 4 of them are in critical care.
The Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami, the national group that represents 4 Inuit land claims organizations in the country, is calling on the federal government to stop recognizing the Nunatsiavut Community Council in Labrador as an Inuit organization. Last Thursday, the ITK wrote a letter to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau saying the NCC should be excluded from accessing federal funding intended to benefit Inuit. In the letter, ITK says that continued federal engagement with NCC sets an alarming and disturbing precedent. ITK speaks of fraudulent claims, and it says it does not recognize the NCC as an Inuit organization, nor do the 4 Inuit land claims organizations that form ITK recognize its members as Inuit. Now, Nunatsiavut in northern Labrador is one of the 4 Inuit regions ITK represents. Its president, Johannes Lamp, was copied on this letter. The ITK says in the letter that an Inuit territory outside of the 4 regions does not exist, and the territory claimed by NCC has never been permanently occupied by Inuit.
I know that I am Inuit, and there are groups or people that believe that they are Inuit. And there's a difference where the knowing and the believing. And there's nothing false that I am saying. The Labrador Inuit Association fought for many years, to get a land claim agreement. And if someone or some group is easily be given, or a silver platter to get a land claim, and we will go to court, to fight that.
Well, Nunatsiavut was formed in 1981 and governs about 6,000 people. Its land claim of southern and central Labrador conflicts with both the Innu and Nunatsiavut land claims. In a response, the NCC issued a statement yesterday. It says exhaustive and extensive research supports and affirms the history and culture of our people and the permanent occupation of Inuit in South Labrador. The NCC further says it is appalling and repulsive that they would choose to write such an ill-informed and discriminatory letter, and that our engagement with the federal government has not and will not adversely impact ITK.
To other news now, the Red Cross is helping 5 men after a fire scorched their apartments. The Canadian Red Cross says a fire broke out at this place yesterday afternoon. Now, the building has a closed-down business in the front, but there are 4 apartments in the back as well as upstairs. Red Cross volunteers have arranged emergency accommodations as well as food and clothing for 4 of those tenants. Nobody was injured. The price of gas is at another record high today. It jumped by 2.2 cents a litre overnight. Regular gasoline on the Avalon Peninsula now costs a maximum of more than $1.61 a litre. Prices also rose last week by more than 4 cents a litre, as you'll remember, and industry analysts say, bad news, the cost is going to keep going up. The maximum prices climb even higher as you go west of the Avalon, and in Labrador, prices there range from $1.50.8 in Happy Valley Goose Bay to $1.70 per litre in Churchill Falls. Well, the price of oil, one of several factors that's driving the surge that we're seeing at the pumps. Oil has hit a 7-year high. Brent crude trading today at more than $84 a barrel, and the Bank of America predicts the price could hit $100, US of course, per barrel this winter. Another problem, another delay. The troubled Muskrat Falls project was supposed to be completed on November 26th. a full 9 years after Nalcor and the provincial government sanctioned that project. But Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro now confirms that target isn't achievable. And a possible sign of more trouble, Hydro is no longer able to say when the project will be finished. Apparently, this is all because GE Canada still has software problems with the computer plans for the Labrador to Newfoundland transmission line. Testing on the interim software keeps turning up new glitches. Hydro is now waiting for a new schedule from GE, so it's unclear whether Muskrat Falls electricity is going to be available for Newfoundland's power grid this winter, though Hydro officials say the oil-fired power generating station at Holyrood, that is available to meet the demand. NL Hydro President and CEO Jennifer Williams was not available today for an interview, but an official said the software challenges are not affecting the progress on the power generating station at Muskrat. All 4 generating units at the station are scheduled to be finished next month.
A coalition led by the province's Fisheries Union is upset over the redfish harvest. The group held a press conference in Corner Brook today. The FFAW wants the Department of Fisheries and Oceans to scrap plans for the emerging redfish harvest and consider giving larger quotas to harvesters and fish plant workers in the smaller communities in the province. Here and now's Colleen Connors reports.
This group believes the Department of Fisheries and Oceans is favoring the corporate sector and forgetting the small communities when it comes to harvesting redfish. DFO is currently holding a consultation process to help decide quota allocations. But Keith Sullivan says it's not much of a consultation. It includes a 5-point questionnaire and no public meetings.
The fishery will be the economic driver of economic sustainability and revitalization in areas that are badly impacted by a decline in northern shrimp. But this will only happen if inshore harvesters and Indigenous groups in our province are giving a significant majority of redfish quota when this fishery opens.
They're referring to fishing in Unit 1 for redfish, which starts here on the west coast and goes all the way to the Gulf of St. Lawrence. It's believed 4.3 million metric tons of redfish are in the Gulf. The fish needs to be 22 centimeters for commercial harvest, which could take a few more years. They believe the emerging fishery could provide jobs for generations, selling to Europe, Asia, and the U.S. Historically, the inshore sector was allocated 15% of the Unit 1, the majority given to the offshore companies. This harvester wants DFO to give the inshore harvesters the biggest quota of redfish when the commercial fishery opens.
And with the decline in shrimp quotas and declining in prices, it's getting tougher all the time for us. And if we don't get a fair share of this redfish, we're gone.
A fish plant worker from the northeast coast says her plant is the largest employer in her region.
It would help extend the working hours for the plant, for the workers, and it would bring more work to the plant, and so that would help not only just the plant, but it would help the communities, surrounding communities.
But I fear that there's no one really looking at what the future of this fishery looks like and don't really care who benefits. So this is why we need support from our communities, we need support from our MPs, and ultimately have a change process to make sure we get this right.
And he says Ottawa needs to put someone in charge. Sullivan says the first step that needs to happen is the new cabinet needs to be announced so they know which minister they're dealing with on this redfish fishery quota matter. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans sent CBC a statement just an hour ago saying DFO will take the time to hear all views on the Unit 1 commercial redfish fishery, including Indigenous groups and stakeholders. It says the consultation process will include virtual meetings to obtain feedback on quota allocations, and it has extended the deadline for submissions to later in November to give sufficient time for responses. Well, now for something completely different. Mile 1 Centre in St. John's is getting a new name. Mary Brown's has acquired the naming rights for the stadium, and the news has a lot of people talking. Chrissy Holmes has more.
Mile 1 is about to get a makeover and a rebrand. Mary Brown's has bought the naming rights to the facility, and early next month, it will be called the Mary Brown's Centre.
Yeah, they probably could have been a little bit more creative, but it's not bad. I like it.
it's a deal that taxpayers may like as well.
It's a 10-year deal worth $1.5 million, so that's broken down to $150,000 a year that'll be paid to St. John's Sport Entertainment.
The name Mile 1 isn't owned by the city. In fact, it used to belong to Danny Williams, and it referenced the beginning of many things, including the starting point of Terry Fox's iconic journey.
The other interesting little anecdote on that is that Kilometre 1 wasn't really politically correct or appropriate at the time, so we went with Mile 1, which was similar to the Mile High Stadium in Denver. If I remember correctly, it was for a 10-year term, so that would have expired back around 2010, 2011. And then the city basically continued to use the name for the next decade. And then I'd heard through the grapevine a couple of years ago that possibly the naming rights were going to basically be offered or sold. You know, I wasn't approached, but not that I was looking to be approached.
Williams says he wasn't surprised.
Typical process now, though, of course, if you're trying to raise money for a public facility, they'll go to major corporate sponsors.
Big arena naming rights usually go for big bucks. In Toronto, Scotiabank outbid Air Canada, paying $800 million to name the home of the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Skydome is now the Rogers Centre. That's a name that the company bought for $25 million back in 2006. Now, here in St. John's, on top of the new name outside, the company is also going to have more branding presence inside.
Yeah, I believe Mary Brown's is looking at putting a kiosk in there, you know, to get some of the products. As well, they will be working with the teams.
I've got to be quite honest with you. We had, when we had the ice caps, we tried to get Mary Brown's in down there, and they were interested in coming. But at that particular point in time, there was no kind of agreement between us and the city to do it. But a lot of people are going to look forward to getting that product inside that stadium, I can tell you.
Mary Brown's was originally hatched in St. John's back in 1969. And with 200 stores across the world and growing, they are now the largest quick-serve chicken franchise in Canada.
Like, I would think it would be like KFC or something, but to hear that it's Mary Brown's, I actually didn't know that.
I thought it was like the most Newfoundland story I heard in a while.
While people in the province are having fun with the news, the work of hanging the new 45-foot sign out front will begin in November. The rest is gravy. Chrissy Holmes, CBC News, St. John's.
And of course, it's supper time. Taking a look outside, not great, pretty rainy, and you can expect much more of this over the next couple of days. I'll have all those details when I come back.
Time for a look at the weather forecast, and I feel like we need like Eeyore to deliver this forecast, because it's like, it's going to be gray.
Yep.
It's going to be cold. It's going to be dreary. It's just like every day, that's what it's been this week.
Pretty much, yeah. Remember earlier in the week I said that I was going to sound like a broken record?
Yep.
Here we are.
Yep,
That's
it happened.
It happened, yeah. I mean, it's quiet weather though. Like, we're not seeing anything super significant, although it will get windy over the next 24 hours. So yeah, so let's look at the current setup right now. We've got an area of low pressure to the east and those northwesterly winds pretty much across the board, at least in those north-facing coasts, with plenty of cloud cover as well. Saw lots of fog earlier today as well. Again, the best weather was in southwestern Newfoundland this afternoon, and we are seeing some showers for parts of the Avalon. Now that will generally be the story tonight. We're going to see pretty much RDF all along the northeast, all along the northeast, and then up across Labrador. In the higher elevations for northern Labrador, you'll likely see about 5 centimeters of wet snow tonight. Otherwise, the closer you get to the surface, that should fall as rain tonight. That's just because temperatures aren't going to dip too much. But there's all that rain I was talking about. And as this area of low pressure gets closer, we're going to see those winds ramp up as well. So speaking of fog, this will be through the overnight, looking at fog patches pretty much all along coastal Labrador. Same thing for northeastern areas of the island as well. The fog will likely stick around through most of the day towards Bonavista North, Gander area. And then eventually things will improve through the afternoon the further east you go, it looks like at this point. But temperatures tonight not moving too much either. 7-8 degrees overnight, but up across Labrador, temperatures a little bit cooler, 5-6 degrees through your overnight. But again, it's those winds that are really going to ramp up. Taking a look at the future tracker for tomorrow, we're going to see mainly some rain to start the day, it looks like at this point, and most of the afternoon areas all along the northeast will see that potential for rain, drizzle, and fog as well. And then the rest of the island going to stay pretty gray through the day. Maybe along southern areas of the island we may see a few peaks of sun, but overall it will be an unsettled afternoon. Cloudy with the chance of showers even down through the southwest. And then showers a story pretty much across Labrador as well as we get into the evening hours. And not much of a change really into Saturday, it looks like at this point as well. So I talked about those winds ramping up. We're going to see that happen tonight. Most areas right now are already seeing those gusts between 40 to 60 kilometers per hour, but the eastern half of the island essentially will see those gusts between 60, 70, even 80 kilometers per hour in some of those exposed areas. Some areas even that are really exposed could see those gusts in excess of 80, maybe even 90 kilometers per hour. That's going to continue for most of the day tomorrow. And then eventually, as we get into tomorrow night and into Saturday, those winds will go back to about 40 to 60 kilometers per hour for the eastern half of the island. So temperatures tomorrow not moving too much. Again, 8, 9, 10 degrees. Marystown looking at about 13 under generally cloudy skies. Again, you may see a few peaks of sun pretty much all along the south coast. Going to keep that RDF in there for you through Bonavista North, through Grand Falls, Windsor as well, 10 degrees. And as you head towards the west coast, a lot more cloud cover than you've been seeing for the past couple of days. 12 degrees in Stephenville. Same thing for Corner Brook with those winds out of the northwest, about 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. A little cooler for the northern peninsula, 9 to 11 degrees. Those winds generally out of the north for southeastern Labrador, 7 to 9 degrees. And again, some periods of rain in the morning and then eventually some drizzle as the day goes on. Back down to the single digits for lab cities. You're going to say goodbye to those double digits. 6 degrees for you, Nain 5. And again, in those higher elevations, you could potentially see some snow in the mix, at least for the first half of the day. And then as those temperatures bump up, that should all fall as rain. So that's a look at tomorrow's forecast. Already Friday tomorrow. We'll look ahead to the weekend when I come back.
Well, there are many pathways you can walk in Bowring Park, but the newest path is meant to take you on an inner journey.
Yeah, there's now a labyrinth in a quiet corner of the park's western edge, and some people who have wound their way through it say the new feature left them feeling lighter. So let's take a look.
It's very, very spiritual. It really means something. I think it makes you go inside a little bit more, and most of our days are outside. We don't go inside and let our feelings come from the inside out, and that certainly made me do that today.
Hi, my name is Chris Lemeasurer. I'm responsible for planning and design with the Grand Concourse Authority, and we've had the pleasure of assisting the Bowring Park Foundation and the City of St. John's in the development of our new labyrinth here in Bowring Park. Simply put, a labyrinth is an unencumbered path that spirals from the outside inward to a center point. The idea is to take the journey and to contemplate along the way.
Hi, my name is Louise Hustins.
I'm Susan Davis.
Well, my sister passed away 5 days ago, and I felt as I was going around the labyrinth that I really could feel her in my heart. It was very meditative, and I did it in her memory and hope that she is finally at peace.
Just does give you that time of peace and reflection, a chance to do that, whereas in the world is so active and boisterous, and you really didn't have the time to reflect. And the labyrinth is a chance to do that.
There's something about a labyrinth, it sort of takes you out of yourself, and it gives you an awareness of the day. I was sick there in June, and I had a kidney cancer, and I had a kidney removed. I'm a person now who lives every moment and every day at a time. I honestly feel that some of the stresses of prior days and today, they sort of leave you because you just let it take it out of your body sort of thing. I don't know if it's mind over matter, I'm not really sure, you know. I just know it's a good experience and I enjoy it.
3 teenagers in central Newfoundland are recovering from what must have been a terrifying night. They left school yesterday afternoon, and when they weren't home by nightfall, a search started in the woods at the edge of Grand Falls, Windsor. Now, we've heard testimony in recent weeks about how search and rescue in this province relies on volunteers, people who give up lots of their time in life and death situations, never at a convenient hour of the day either. Roger Gooby is the coordinator of the Exploit Search and Rescue Team, and he joins me now from Grand Falls, Windsor. So, Roger, long night, your crew must be tired.
That crew very tired, Anthony. Certainly was a long, grueling night for us.
So take me back to last night, Roger. What was the call that you received about these 3 teenagers?
We received a call approximately around 9:30 area last night from the RCMP. The 3 teenagers went missing, 2 male and 1 female. In the Grand Falls, Windsor area, were last seen leaving from the school and walking along the roadway of Grenfell Heights. It's more of a wooded area of town on back of all the houses there, so you've got a lot of forested area.
Right, so Roger, you get a call like that from the RCMP. How do you go about making a plan?
So last night when the call came in, we were dispatched to the RCMP. We pulled out a call-out system through our calling program. And within 10 minutes, we had 37 volunteer members assembled at our building and ready to be tasked to where they need to do for searching last night.
So you got 37 people. They come to the rescue, for lack of better words. Now walk me through what happened in the search and how the search ended.
With any search, you start getting a bunch of information come in. And, you know, the public, the family are all important to us. And we're basically trying to put together a puzzle and trying to make a plan of what areas that is most, we use the term a hasty search, and what is the highest probability area that we could find the person in. So we took some key areas last night and we tasked members. Some were on foot, some were on ATVs, and some were just driving the roads. And, you know, everybody was communicating back to our command center, which was set up just on the outskirts of town. And approximately about 4 a.m., 4:30 area, we did get a report from one of the family members that were on site that they were able to make cell phone communication with one of the individuals that were missing. I in turn talked to the missing people, tried to get a plan. They didn't know where they were lost. So I had talked to them on where they went and what they seen underway, and quite familiar with the area because it was basically in my own backyard area where I lived. So I was quite familiar with it, and we were able to put a plan that where they went into. We put up a few flares last night for them to get a sense of direction where we were located, and then we send a crew of our team members down through, and we're able to locate them and transport them back up to the road where you're all checked out by a waiting ambulance.
You mentioned you had 37 people show up, so I guess, you know, they worked through the night. You found these 3 teenagers at 4 o'clock. So all of those searchers, they must have the day off today, right?
Definitely not. You know, our search members, I touched base with a lot of them this morning, and most of us were back on the go 6:30 this morning, getting prepared for a regular day job. So the day is long, we're punching through, and certainly a lot of heavy bags under our eyes, but we're just happy with the outcome last night, and well worth the effort and well worth the lack of sleep for us last night that we got the outcome that we were looking for.
Well, certainly a great outcome. I want to get back to, you know, this inquiry, which got a lot of attention, has pointed out that volunteers make up a disproportionate part of the entire search and rescue system in this province. Burnout is high. You guys, gals, and others spend a lot of time fundraising when you're not out rescuing people. What is a support that would make your lives and the work that you do much better? What's a support that you think you need?
I guess, you know, it all boils down to, you know, financial funding. You know, our teams are basically, our mandate is to search for people, but in the off time that we're not out searching, you know, we spend quite a bit of time fundraising. You know, we have a lot of equipment, we have buildings, and it all takes money to keep it up. So when the call arrives, you know, we want to be able to open the doors and roll out the equipment in, you know, 100% condition and be able to do the tasks that we're performed to do without least amount of trouble. So it certainly takes a lot of time on our members, and certainly takes a lot of time from their home and their family lives.
And there's certainly 3 families in your area very grateful for what you do and what you did last night along with your team. Thanks a lot for your time, and I hope you get a good bit of sleep tonight. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Really been a morale booster for our staff and the community, as well as I hope it's appreciated by the team as well that are visiting here.
The Newfoundland and Labrador flag has been raised at the hospital in Fort McMurray, Alberta, to welcome a team of healthcare workers from this province. As Alberta hospitals continue to battle another surge in COVID-19 cases, a team of healthcare workers from this province is in Fort McMurray lending their skills to the Northern Lights Regional Health Centre. Alberta Health Services tweeted about the hospital raising the Newfoundland and Labrador flag in anticipation of the team's arrival. Joining me now is the Senior Operating Officer at the Northern Lights Hospital, Murray Crawford. Thank you so much for being here.
No problem at all.
So first of all, how are you? How are you and your staff doing right now?
We're doing all right. I mean, I think everyone is a little tired of COVID, to put it mildly. It feels a little like Groundhog Day. We certainly have gotten through, this is our fourth wave. And so, yeah, I think people are tired and would like to see the end of it, but they're committed to finishing the job here.
We saw the tweet about the Newfoundland and Labrador flag being raised at the health center. Can you tell us about the decision to do that?
Well, it was just it was something we came up with here in the facility, and it was just a show of respect and a way of thanking the team for arriving, acknowledging their participation in our response to the recent COVID outbreaks across our province, sort of thing. And it's also it's interesting. It's really picked up a fair amount of interest in the community because, believe it or not, there are some people here from Newfoundland that live in Fort McMurray, and some of our staff. We have quite a few staff that are originally from Newfoundland, and so yeah, it's really been a morale booster for our staff and the community, as well as I hope it's appreciated by the team as well that are visiting here.
Yeah, for sure. And our province definitely feels a kinship with Fort McMurray. There's a long-running joke that Fort McMurray is Newfoundland and Labrador's second largest city. Do you think it will mean more to your colleagues and patients to have workers from a region that feels such a close connection to your area?
Yeah, that's why we were really enthusiastic and excited when we heard that there was a possibility of a team coming from Newfoundland. And originally, we didn't know it was coming to Fort McMurray. We sort of heard that it was an offer made and a negotiation between governments. And how that happens, I'm not sure, but we definitely were excited that there would be a team, and we were really excited when they sort of the opportunity came that it would come to Fort McMurray, because there is that close connection with Newfoundland and Fort McMurray for sure.
So 7 healthcare workers are there from this province, some nurses, physicians, and nurse practitioners. What will they be doing?
Well, we put them right to work. I mean, once we allowed them to sort of fly in, get time zone adjusted, and have a little bit of a time off, we put them into a pretty rigorous one-day orientation. We weren't worried about their professional skills, but I mean, just to get familiar with our facility and the way we do things, and just basic things like where staff rooms are and stuff like that. And so. Yeah, we put them right to work. They started shifts on the 11th. So they started arriving on the 8th, and we put them right to work on the 11th. So they joined in rotations right away.
Now, it's a pretty small team. 7 isn't a huge number by any stretch. Do you really think they might be able to make a difference in your healthcare facility?
Oh, definitely. And I mean, it's interesting because it's really making a difference in 2 ways. They've allowed us, by adding that extra staff, we've been allowed to further expand our ICU from 8 +1 beds to 10 +1 beds. So that's great news for us as we support communities across the North Zone with ICU capacity. So that's one piece. And then the second piece is just having a new team come in. They're motivated, they're excited, they're very friendly, and just having something new happen that's not, although indirectly linked to COVID, having them in the facility and learning from each other is a great piece of work, addition for us here in the facility as well.
Well, Murray Crawford, we send you our best. Thank you so much for speaking with me.
No, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
The global obsession with the new Korean drama Squid Game has made it the most popular show on Netflix, and it's also led to a growing hunger for a Korean treat that's featured on that show. And as CBC's Rowan Kennedy reports, that's good news for a small Montreal convenience store.
Robert Kim owns a dépanneur in Saint-Henri, and he's added something new to his shelves. Dalgona, a sugar-based cookie from Korea. It's a treat that reminds him of a game he played with the treat there as a child.
So after the class, me and my friends or the classmates went together. We played a game. We enjoyed.
The game, cutting shapes out of dalgona, is featured in an episode of Netflix's smash hit, Squid Game. On the show, contestants have to compete for their lives and for money to erase their debt. It's Netflix's most popular show in at least 90 countries, so Kim decided to start selling them over the weekend. He says it was difficult finding the right recipe.
At the beginning, we throw out a lot because you need like a specific technique, like especially temperature control-wise, it was very hard.
In the first hour at the cash register, he says they sold out. It helps that teenagers from the high school across the street drop by. And it wasn't hard to find plenty of opinions about the show in the neighborhood.
It was honestly good, but I don't really understand like the massive hype around it.
I feel like it's actually a great show, but also a messed up show at the same time.
Like a different culture and something refreshing from what we see all the time.
We got the kimchi.
Meanwhile, Kim says he's adding dalgona to his collection of Korean delicacies.
After 30 years, I got the chance to show people what Korea is about.
He says Korean food is gaining in popularity, and he says the dalgona are here to stay. Rowan Kennedy, CBC News, Montreal.
Time for a look at the long range. Short week this week, so Friday's tomorrow. It flew by this week.
Yeah.
So lots of gray weather on the way. Are we going to be getting any kind of a break?
It doesn't look like it, not as far as that sun peeking out anyway. Unfortunately, not through the weekend. So yeah, unfortunately. Let's take a look at the future tracker. There's that area of low pressure that's essentially stalled, or no, it is stalled east of the island. And as we head through the day on Saturday, you can see some more periods of rain, showers and or drizzle through the afternoon. We may see a few breaks for the western portion of the island as well as the south again, and then up through parts of Labrador. We may see a few peaks of sun in the mix, but as we get into Sunday, southern areas of the island, at least this model showing that we could see a few breaks, but the next low pressure system is going to move in, and that is going to bring some more rain through the night on Sunday, and then that will generally continue even as we get into Monday. So the next weather maker will be around for a little while, unfortunately, as well. So as far as those temperatures go, again, not a whole lot of movement, 7 to 9 degrees along the southern areas of the island, though still going to hang on to those teens, maybe a few peaks of sun for the southwest, like I mentioned, but those single digits returning up across Labrador as well, 4 to 8 degrees as your daytime highs. And then for the rest of the weekend, or at least the end of the weekend, hanging on to those similar temperatures, likely just some cloudy skies through Happy Valley, Goose Bay. Can't rule out a few light showers, but overall it will just be cloudy. At this point, going to keep the sun icon in for at least the first half of the day for the west coast, but the clouds will be on the increase. And then same thing, like I said, a few breaks possible for the southern areas of the island. Marystown about 14 degrees as your daytime high on Sunday. The rest of the island, though, in that northerly flow, will continue to see those single digits. Not a whole lot of change in the forecast for St. John's and Eastern Newfoundland either. There you go, to 8 to 10 degrees as you get into next week, with that rain sticking around, or at least gray skies sticking around, and overnight lows between 5 to 8 degrees. For central Newfoundland, other than that little bit of a potential break on Sunday, the rain returns Monday and Tuesday, and we'll see a similar forecast for western Newfoundland as well. You're going to see showers through Monday and Tuesday, and daytime highs in the double digits, it looks like, on the west coast, but hanging on to those single digits through central Newfoundland. Now for eastern Labrador, daytime highs will generally be in the single digits. This is around where you should be sitting this time of year. Sunny, or rather generally calm through Saturday and Sunday, and then the return of those showers through Monday and Tuesday. And then unfortunately, Lab West, you're looking at gray skies and showers right through Tuesday. Now we are getting to, it's unfortunate because we're getting to peak fall colors through parts of the province. This was Margaret Bowater Park in Corner Brook. Greg shared this great shot. This was today at 4 p.m. I believe, or it might have been yesterday at 4 p.m. But anyway, it was a beautiful day. Lots of fall colors. Thank you for sharing that photo. And if you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
That place is such a gem. If you get out there, especially in the summer, you can swim there.
There you go.
Yep, fabulous spot.
And obviously a great place to see the fall colors.
Yeah,
yes.
Great right now in the Humber Valley. Beautiful.
That's right.
Nice to break through all of that gray weather that we're having.
That's right.
Well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
See you tomorrow.
Good night.